Welcome back to the channel, everybody, and today it is my next mock draft for the week 18 draft order. It's going to be 2 rounds like always, but as you saw in the title, we are doing trades. There's a lot of rumors about certain quarterbacks that are going to be switching teams via the trade market in the off season, and I played around with a couple of those ideas, as well as we're going to have a couple of trade ups into the first round at least, and playing around with different types of players going to different teams. So hopefully it creates some conversation. You can leave those thoughts in the comment section below. And of course, thumbs up the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Easiest, quickest, and fastest way to support me and this channel. But let's waste no more time. Let's get to it. So let's start by going over some of the trades that I did that you're going to see throughout here, get some of the values down. And the first one, full disclosure, I actually heard that franchise guy, Marcus, he proposed the Green Bay Jets trade that I really did like and I'm going to use. It's Green Bay is going to receive Zach Wilson in the 44th overall pick in the draft, and the Jets are going to get Jordan Love in pick 119. The reason why the value is like that, I think there's a money thing with the two contracts, and there's also the damage done to Zach Wilson that hasn't yet been done to Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love coming in replacement of Aaron Rodgers in that game did wonders for his value. It was sort of like that little sample where I think a team like the Jets could see that he's not going to be somebody who's going to be mistake prone. He's somebody who can go in, throw the ball accurately. And this does solve their quarterback problem without them having to sacrifice their first round pick on a rookie. So yeah, I really like the trade value, and I think it makes sense for Green Bay as well to sort of get another project, maybe get Zach Wilson a change of scenery, and he can turn out to be somebody later on that he just isn't going to be with the Jets, it doesn't seem. And then the other one is Derek Carr. Now, this one's a little bit more complicated. I did have the Colts being the team to make the trade. So basically, the Colts are going to move back from 5 to 8, give up a first-round pick next year, and a conditional pick next year as well, and they're going to get Derek Carr in the process. Now, my thought process behind it was I was looking at what happened with Carson Wentz when he got traded from Philly to Indy and what that value was. And it was, I believe it was a third-round pick and then a conditional first-round pick, where if the Colts made the playoffs, it was a first-round pick. I think that Derek Carr does hold more value than Carson Wentz does, which is, moving back 3 spots, that's like, what is that? Probably the equivalent to a third-round pick. And then the conditional pick will probably be like a day 3 pick, probably. Like if the Colts make the playoffs, it's another third. If they don't make the playoffs, it's a fourth or a fifth or whatever. Just trying to figure out that little extra value in there. I feel like maybe I'm copping out a bit by making it conditional, but I just wanted to get somewhat of the future value on it, as this trade, I designed it to really only affect where these teams are picking in that top 10 area. And then as I moved on with the draft, I was looking at possible teams that would be looking to trade up and trade down. And I saw Carolina. They're going to be getting a new head coach, and they're going to be wanting to get a new quarterback. So the best way to do that, trade up with a team who would be probably looking to trade back to get more draft picks, and that would be Arizona. And I have plans for Arizona, as you'll see in a trade that's coming up as well. But I have Carolina moving up from 9 to 4. And I also have the Giants moving up from 23 to 12. And the value that I gave this trade, big Giants fan that I am, I do remember the Chicago Giants trade where Chicago traded up from 20 to 11 to get Justin Fields. And so the value of that was the Giants got a third-round pick in that year's draft, and then they got the first-round pick in next year's draft. Now, that was trading up for a quarterback. The Giants are not trading up to get a quarterback in this scenario. So the value, I kept it a little bit the same, but I also kicked the Giants a 2024 fourth-round pick to sort of give a little bit of extra compensation to sort of even it out as what the Giants would maybe be willing to give up to go get the player that they're going to be getting, as you guys will see coming up soon. I also have Green Bay now with a little bit of extra second round pick, trading the 44th and the 50th pick to the Green Bay Packers to the Patriots, for the 22nd overall pick and pick 108. And then I had Arizona moving up from 35 back into the first round at 29, also getting 138, and they give up the 97th pick to the Denver Broncos, allowing Denver to move up to get a little bit better draft value that Denver sorely needs. I'm trying to speak here. And for these trades here that are just draft picks that don't involve any of the players, I did go and use a draft pick value chart and got it about as close as possible, but with the team that is moving back always coming out a little bit ahead, if that makes sense. So in terms of the value of the picks that they're getting, Houston, New England, Denver, and Arizona in the Carolina trade, they're all coming out with ahead in terms of the amount of points they're accumulating, but I tried to make it as even as possible. So let's get into the actual draft picks. You'll see a star next to the number, and that does denote a pick that was traded during my trades. So not the regular draft order or regular trades like the Rams trading that pick to Detroit, for example. But for me, the top three is just not going to change as long as this is the order of it. So I don't think there's much explaining here to do. But something here, C.J. Stroud did do wonders for his draft value in that game against Georgia, which is why Carolina moves up to number 4, get in front of the Raiders, grab C.J. Stroud. And then I have the Raiders, who are moved up 3 spots in the Carr trade, need a quarterback. They draft Will Levis. Now, Levis is a very controversial figure in this draft amongst the mock draft community and the commenters in the comment section. Him playing in a pro offense with not a lot of weapons, I think that Josh McDaniels would really like to have him in that system. If you kind of mold him a bit, and you're giving him Darren Waller, you're giving him Devontae Adams, and you're giving him, presumably, maybe you keep Josh Jacobs now that you have all that extra money with Derek Carr not being there. Maybe you do pay Jacobs, maybe you just franchise tag him, I don't know. But you're giving Will Levis all the tools to succeed, and probably a quarterback that McDaniels would actually want rather than one that he sort of inherited. And then I got, best player available for Detroit, Myles Murphy. Pairing him up with Aiden Hutchinson is going to be unbelievable. And then Tyree Wilson going to Atlanta. I made this pick because the physical traits of Tyree Wilson, I think, are going to be the difference maker in him being the third defensive end / edge or whatever coming out. I think teams are really going to like it the same way that we saw with Travon Walker, who just shot up boards last minute just because the physical traits are there and they can sort of project where he's going to be by the end of that rookie deal. And it's not so much what he's going to contribute day one the way you'd maybe expect a Myles Murphy or a Will Anderson to. And then the Colts, who just moved back 3 spots, they do have their quarterback now. So now you want to build some protection for him. And that's why getting Peter Skoronski was the move for me because, and I wrote him down as an offensive lineman, not an offensive tackle. I'd been using him as a guard in some of my previous mocks, experimenting with that. And I think him going to the Colts in this scenario is the perfect situation for him because they could really put him at tackle. They could put him at guard. They could use him to create the best 5 options. And I think if his length comes into play, then he can play interior on the, I believe it's the left side. Quentin Nelson plays on the right. Does Quentin Nelson play on the right or the left? Whichever side, the opposite of Quentin Nelson and next to Ryan Kelly. And that could really help their team. I think it really does a good job of helping complete their offensive line. And if things don't work out with Bernard Ryman at the left tackle position, maybe you can try Skoronski out there as well. So there's Arizona trading back, and they grab Christian Gonzalez, taking the top corner. Then I got Brian Breezy going to the Philadelphia Eagles, just taking the best defensive lineman they could find on the board. I thought about it being Jared Verse, But I thought the combination, again, going an interior guy early because the drop off, I think, is significantly more than it is at edge, especially at the end of the first round. Paris Johnson going to the Titans. That's your Taylor Lewan replacement after you cut him, because they will be cutting him. And the Giants, have him trading up and getting Quentin Johnston, the wide receiver. That's really the missing piece of their puzzle, it seems, is getting an alpha number one receiver in that lineup that Kenny Golladay just isn't. Sure, they'll cut bait with Golladay, get $12 million in cap back, I think it is, and accumulate like 10 in dead money. But this is giving a true number one receiver out there a good complement to what they have in Sterling Shepard and Wan'Dale Robinson, even though Shepard might not make it to next season either. But they drafted Wan'Dale last year, and now you're sort of rebuilding this this receiver room. I thought about them perhaps doing what we saw Buffalo do with Stephon Diggs, which is just flat out trade that 23rd pick to a team for a receiver, but I couldn't find a receiver that was like a top-notch true number one receiver that right now projects to be a trade candidate. So I just sort of left it and decided to make them trade up instead. Then I got the Jets going Broderick Jones. They got their quarterback, Jordan Love. Now get him some protection, Broderick Jones. Trenton Simpson going to Washington. This just seems like a Washington pick, to be honest, grabbing a linebacker in the middle of the first round, kind of like they did with Jamin Davis. And you compare Trenton Simpson up now with Jamin Davis. Keely Ringo going to the Steelers. Their cornerback room is butt cheeks, so you got to tighten that one up. And then Green Bay grabs Michael Mayer. It's just such a good fit, and I think if he's there, Green Bay would be silly not to take him. He fits so well in what they want to do, and it's getting Aaron Rodgers a weapon, something that you guys haven't done in forever in the first round. You know, you're going to lose probably Robert Tonyan, so you replace him with Michael Mayer rather than bringing back Tonyan and then trying to find a receiver here at 16 to complement the guys you already have in Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. Maybe you pay Alan Lazard because Aaron Rodgers loves Alan Lazard, and you sort of part ways with Tonyan and bring in Michael Mayer to be his replacement. He's sort of a better version of Tonyan, sort of a George Kittle type of tight end anyway. So it just makes a lot of sense for Green Bay to do this move in this scenario. So here is Detroit going with Joey Porter. They didn't take a corner at 6. They take one here at 17 to pair up with Miles Murphy that they took at pick number 6. Voided pick for Miami. Man, what they would do with this pick. Then I took Osiris Torrance with Seattle. Coming in, playing guard. Grabbed them a defensive lineman, now an offensive lineman. You know, keep working on those trenches. You know, assist that running game and protecting Geno Smith, who I'm assuming you're keeping. Cam Smith going to Jacksonville. Put him with Tyson Campbell. Help further complete that secondary. Got Tampa going with Anthony Richardson, because I don't think Brady's going to be there. So I think this is a pretty fair assumption to make that they would make this pick in this scenario. Then I got Green Bay. You saw the trade up, the value earlier with New England. They trade up and they get Brian Branch, the safety out of Alabama. This is the Adrian Amos replacement after they cut Adrian Amos to clear up a little bit of cap room to maybe sign some guys back, because they're going to have to. I think they're over the cap right now by $5 million going into next year, so they're going to have to clear up some room. Amos is going to be an easy cut to make. So why not use that extra second-round pick that you have now, package it together, trade up back into the first round, and get the top safety on the board? Really help out that back end. And then this is an ideal situation for Houston, who probably would have taken Jared Verse at 12, but trade down with the Giants, get all that extra draft capital, and still land Jared Verse, the edge rusher, to pair up with Jonathan Grenard. I think hard to argue that there wouldn't be Houston fans going crazy for that one. And I got the Chargers grabbing Jordan Addison. It just makes the most sense. You know, it just makes all the sense in the world. to have Jordan Addison end up with the Chargers, just the way this board turned out. It's an easy pick. A lot of people make it, and so will I. So will I. And another pick that I make relentlessly is Jackson Smith and Jigba to Baltimore. I just love the fit. Then I got Minnesota grabbing Jalen Hyatt, the wide receiver out of Tennessee, getting another weapon there. Adam Thielen hasn't really done a whole lot this year, but he's still getting older even if he was. So you got to figure out a way to replace him. Jalen Hyatt, I think, is going to be a tremendous weapon, especially with the way that offense operates. Then I got Cincinnati grabbing Devin Witherspoon, cornerback out of Illinois. He's done all the right things to get into the first round. I wanted to have him end up here at least in the back end of the first round. Cowboys go Clark Phillips. This is a good corner class. This is a very top-heavy corner class, I will say. The first 2 days, there's some really good corners you can get, and I think the Cowboys jumping in on that here in the first round, considering they're in a position to lose some guys in their secondary, kind of like Cincinnati is, at least over the next year or two. You want to keep replenishing that. And here is Arizona trading up, as you guys saw at the beginning, and they traded up because they're getting Bijan Robinson, running back out of Texas. I love it. I don't know if they keep Cliff Kingsbury. But even if they do, Bijan Robinson fits really any and all offensive schemes. So getting a surefire top flight running back next to Kyler Murray will make things very, very interesting in Arizona. You just didn't get the same production that Connor gave you the year before, which, I mean, how could you expect it? It was such an anomaly of a season for him. He sort of came back down to earth this year. As did this Arizona team in general, just not being able to keep it together. And then I got Buffalo grabbing Antonio Johnson, defensive back, Texas A&M. I was making this pick before Damar Hamlin's situation happened. But I think, to not go into that video, I already made a video about that. But now with the likelihood that Damar Hamlin is not going to play again, now for sure you need to probably dip into the safety class early in this upcoming draft to find some type of young replacement for the aging group that you have back there. And I ended out the first round here with 2 consecutive edge rushers, Foskey to the Chiefs and Nolan Smith to the Eagles. So it became Nolan Smith and Brian Breezy instead of maybe Jared Verse and then like a Gervin Dexter or something like that to sort of find a different interior guy. I think Breezy as an interior guy sort of fit them better than maybe grabbing Siaki Ika, who's kind of just a slower, less athletic version of Jordan Davis already. So you want to get more of a 3 technique type of a player in there, and that was Brian Breezy. Now you get Nolan Smith, who can be multiple different roles in this rotation. He can be the direct backup to Hassan Reddick. He can be, a starting edge rusher, if you decide to cut Brandon Graham. There's a lot of possibilities with Nolan Smith. I think the Eagles would really be a good fit for him to come in and immediately be an impact player, more so than he would on any other team. Getting in here to the second round, gave wide receiver to Houston, giving him Josh Downs. Darnell Wright, tackle, going to Pittsburgh, helping out that position for them. They need the help there. And I got Denver, who they did trade down. I got him taking DeJuan Jones, who would have been somebody that they probably would have considered taking at 29. So, you trade down, get extra value on one of your draft picks with the trade down with Arizona, and you still get the guy that's going to come in and play that right tackle spot. Siaki Ika going to Seattle. This is filling that nose tackle role. Jalen Jones going to the Colts, helping out that cornerback group. BJ Ojolari to the Rams. This is sort of like, do they go edge rusher or do they go offensive lineman? I think it's going to be one of the two for the Rams in this draft. Could depend on what they do in free agency, if they can figure out a way to bring in somebody. But if they do, I think that they'd find a lot more value in the free agency market as it stands right now, getting an offensive lineman. I think there's a couple better offensive linemen out there. I think that they might prioritize getting a veteran offensive lineman, a proven commodity in, rather than rolling the dice on a rookie and having the same type of issues that they had this year with the line. I got Anton Harrison going to Atlanta. I had Falcons fans pounding the table that they want offensive linemen, so here you go. Gave you an offensive lineman. And Carolina, who traded up, got a quarterback. Now I'm getting that quarterback a weapon. Zay Flowers, someone that you can get the ball out to quickly, get that run after catch. A good compliment for DJ Moore and Terrace Marshall, a guy that can come out play in the slot, maybe kick him outside a bit, run some screens, some jet sweeps, etc., etc. Take some of the pressure off of CJ Stroud a little bit with more weapons. So here's the Raiders going Mozzie Smith, tier defensive lineman, Michigan. They got the edge guys going. Hope to get a little bit more production to have Chandler Jones next year. And now you're helping out your interior with a good little space eater. Andre Carter going to the Titans. He's a big body. You could probably add some weight to him. I think he's like 6'7". I could be wrong. I don't think I'm wrong, though. I think he's like 6'7", so you can add some pounds to him, and he can maybe then move around a little bit. But, adding him to that rotation, get out of that Bud Dupree contract. Jesus. Felix Anudike going to the Browns. This is a good guy to add to that rotation. Jadeveon Clowney has only a year left on his contract. He is aging, so you want to have a smooth transition out of there. And Clowney, you can have him in there on those early running downs and then maybe kick him inside and have Anudike play the edge on passing downs and then have like Garrett, Clowney, Anudike, and is it Perion Winfrey? They got Perion Winfrey. Perion Winfrey, more of a pass rushing interior guy. You can have a good little package there that you could bust out, especially if you want a little bit more speed out there when dealing with Lamar Jackson. That's a possibility as well. Or, Joe Burrow, you're going to see a lot of passing situations with that Bengals team, so maybe you want to get more pass rushers on the field that have some size to them, and that's a good way to do it as well. It's important to have 3 edge rushers. It's just as important to have maybe like 3 or 4 corners on the roster as well. It's sort of becoming the new way they're structuring NFL defenses. Not really having a lot of linebackers, but having a lot of guys that can play the edge, get after the passer, and guys that can defend the pass. Here's the Patriots with their first pick so far, and it's Drew Sanders, linebacker out of Arkansas. He's a guy, great blitzer. I think he's got the size, the speed, the athleticism, and the traits that are really something Belichick likes. I got Tanner McKee going to the Saints. They got a quarterback, right? If they can't get one, they got to pick one with this first pick. If they can't go out and get somebody like, I'm going to throw it out there, maybe Trey Lance. You never know. Maybe the Niners are willing to give up Trey Lance and get maybe pick 45 and then a conditional pick next year. You never know. Gervin Dexter going to the Steelers. Just keep adding to that interior group with some aging guys in there. Emmanuel Forbes going to Washington. Grabbing a corner is important for Washington in this upcoming draft and offseason. So got to get him here. And then the fun, warming my tum-tum story of Noah Sewell going to the Lions and being with his brother Penei. Isn't that nice? Isn't that cute? Isn't that adorable? Isn't it so adorable? The brothers reunited. We got Jalen Duncan going to the Dolphins, helping out that right tackle spot. They need a grad lineman. Same thing with the Patriots here, who with that extra pick are grabbing Cody Mock, the tackle out of North Dakota State. You're losing a lot of offensive linemen in this upcoming offseason. We know the Patriots don't like paying guys. So here's Cody Mock to come in and slide right into that role. Darnell Washington, tight end out of Georgia, going to Jacksonville. Even if they keep Evan Ingram, who's having a pretty good year towards the end now, Darnell Washington's a completely different type of player. He's 6'7", 270 or something. The physical traits are off the charts. You can use him on early downs. You can split out Evan Ingram more into the slot. Run some 2 tight end sets with Ingram as like a wing player. It opens up the possibilities for this offense a lot. And we know that Doug Peterson really likes 2 tight end sets. We saw it with Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert. We saw it with Zach Ertz and Trey Burton when he was there. So when he was there in Philly, so he likes these types of sets. 2 really effective tight ends in his offense. DJ Turner going to the Bucks. This is adding to that room that's going to be out Murphy Bunting and Jamel Dean most likely. Patriots picking again, and it's Rashee Rice, wide receiver SMU. Add to that receiver room. They need one. They need receivers badly, very, very badly. Seattle going Henry To'oTo'o, adding a linebacker. Pairing him next to Jordan Brooks. They love running the 2 linebacker sets. Pete Carroll loves having at least 2 quality linebackers. That's where that defense operates truly at its best, with 2 really solid linebackers at least, and then you get the big corners, and they got that with really Tariq Woolen, and you can add somebody else maybe later. As of this recording, it looks like Eli Ricks is going to the NFL. I could be wrong, but it looks like he is. So, got him going here to the New York Giants, who need an outside corner to pair with Adoree Jackson. And I got Jack Campbell going to the Chargers, fixing that linebacker spot for them, working on that middle of the field, middle of the defense. That's a little bit squishy out there. Got the Bears going with John Michael Schmitz, the top center in the draft. He could really be like the next Creed Humphrey. Just a center coming in rookie year, just blowing away the league. I think it's a real possibility. I think the Bears really would benefit from adding him. Help out Justin Fields. Get a nice IQ guy in there on the offense. They got Matthew Bergeron, tackle, going to Cincinnati. You got to figure out the top 5 offensive linemen. Jonah Williams is going into the last year of his deal. He's guaranteed all $12 million that he's going to be getting. La'el Collins is injured. You don't know when he's going to necessarily be back. Do you want to keep Jonah Williams? I think you got to be prepared to lose at least one of them, if not both of them. And introducing a new offensive lineman in there just to try and figure out the best combination of 5, because we know La'el Collins and Jonah Williams are both capable of playing as an interior offensive lineman as well. So this will also help, I think, just doing the mix and match, getting the best 5 out on the field. Andrew Voorhees going to the Cowboys. This is your new left guard to play next to Tyler Smith. Keep rebuilding that offensive line that Dallas seems to do very well. Then I got Kalijah Cansey, interior defensive lineman out of Pittsburgh. This is your Michael Brockers replacement. Brockers for sure is going to get cut if he doesn't retire. It'll free up $10 million in cap space for Detroit. Getting rid of he'll be 33, 34 at the time. Not really producing like he used to anyways. Bit of an overpaid player. Was just, brought over, I think it was in a trade. Was he brought over in a trade with the Rams midway through the season, or was it free agency? Either way, he's out. So you bring in Kalijah Cansey, who's I think he's 6'4", 295. A little bit of a smaller guy, but can play that 3-4 defensive end, maybe a little 3 technique as well on passing downs. Tuli Tuipulotu, same sort of idea, except it's going to be J.J. Watt that's getting replaced here. Jahmyr Gibbs going to Buffalo. Now, to me, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a top 50 pick. I just couldn't find and figure out a team that I was comfortable with moving up into the top 50 to get him. Because I know, and I took him with Buffalo because I'm like, Buffalo definitely wouldn't pass on him in this situation. He's too good. But, would they move up to get him? Are they that desperate for a running back? Would they be able to justify, we'll just get another one later if he doesn't fall to us? So I was trying to work it out, and I just couldn't think of one that made sense, so he ended up just dropping. And good players drop. Good players drop in the draft. I don't think he's necessarily guaranteed to be running back 2 anyway. I gave Cedric Tillman to the Chiefs. a different type of wide receiver than what they have already or what they're used to having. You put him now with Sky Moore, and maybe you bring back Juju. You got a nice little group of 3 right there. I don't know if they bring back McCole Hardman. I'm very doubtful on that. And I got Sean Tucker going to the Eagles. I know Miles Sanders is making the Pro Bowl. I know he made the Pro Bowl and he's an impending free agent, but does it make sense for him to maybe parlay that into the free agency market and get overpaid? Then maybe the Eagles, who are probably going to offer him less money. Does he move on? I think he might move on, try to collect a running back paycheck from someone. He's certainly, along with, I don't think Jacobs and Barkley's going anywhere, so he could be the number 1 running back on the free agency market after Barkley and Jacobs get franchise tagged. Barkley might get extended completely. Jacobs will probably get franchise tagged from the looks of it. So he'll be the number 1 tight end in the free agency market, and at least one running back every year gets paid. So why would it not be him? Coming off the Pro Bowl appearance, teams will probably jump on that. You hope that his health concerns don't kick in. So it will open up a spot at running back for the Eagles, and they draft Sean Tucker to fill that role. Because filling that running back role is really important to that Eagles offense and the way Jalen Hurts is most effective playing quarterback, which is a lot of play action pass, a lot of RPOs, read options, all that kind of crap. And there you have it. 2 rounds with some trades. Let me know in the comment section what you thought of what I did with your team. What did you think of the trades? What did you think of the value that I gave to those trades? I think it was kind of fair. I think my explanations were decent, I hope. But leave a thumbs up in the video anyway, and subscribe if you haven't already for more content. We're going to be coming with so much more in the coming weeks, including we're going to review next week my preseason power rankings and how they ended up shaping up in reality, how accurate I was, and spoiler alert, I was pretty accurate. Thanks for coming. I'll see you next time. Bye.